So the challenge is to be a child of the moment, to submit to the moment, to the here, to the now, as created, as willed by Allah. Not conservative, not modern, not progressive. Here, now, contemporary, flowing, loving, alive, surrendered, Muslim. Ya salam. My name is Dr. Jason Idriss Sparks, exploring visions of beauty and excellence in Islamic contexts with you. The tradition flows, century after century, always contemporary. Contemporary, not modern. Modernity would stop the flow. Modernity would put itself in opposition to the flow. Modernity would propose a rupture. Tradition flows. Tradition flows. I can feel the flow now on these rooftops in Morocco. Yes, you can hear the sounds of love. You can hear the sounds of life. You can feel the flow. I've often defined tradition as a transcendentally inspired flow from the past through the present toward the future. Ijaza, for example, where a scholar gives a permission to another scholar to transmit the knowledge about a certain book, right? Or the hadith transmissions, right? When you want to see a hadith, you want to see who it was transmitted by, all the way up to the Prophet ﷺ. People who teach in traditional Islamic contexts, they will tell you who they learned Quran from and who that person learned Quran from, all the way up to the Prophet ﷺ. The Sharifs, right, the noble lineage, will trace their lineage all the way up to the Prophet Sayyidina Muhammad ﷺ. So this idea of transmission, right? But it's not the transmission of any old thing. It's the transmission of things which are sacred. So tradition in the Islamic context is transcendentally inspired. What does that mean? Well, it comes from something which transcends, basic human capacity. It comes from revelation. It comes from the Qur'an and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, right? And the people who follow his ways, right? This is the tradition, and it is transmitted. So a tradition is not a formalism, and it is not to be confused with conservatism. A lot of people think if you're traditional, you're conservative, that it's nostalgic, that it's about the past. Well, maybe as many people, proponents of tradition in the West, have perhaps given that impression, although many of them have said that that's not what it's about. It's not about nostalgia, right? And it's not about formalism, although I'm not sure that many have actually addressed the question of formalism. But that's, perhaps they sometimes, in their beautiful attention to beauty in sort of formal contexts, right? Beautifully finished books and videos and poems, and which are amazingly and important, amazingly important. But perhaps that emphasis makes us forget the fact that tradition is a flow which can be a torrent, right? It's the flow of flows, right? Like water, sometimes it's flowing through the air in a distilled way up into the clouds, and sometimes it's flowing down from the clouds, and sometimes it's in a river, and sometimes it's in the sea, like you see the Mediterranean behind me, or in the ocean, like you see on the other side of the Strait of Gibraltar, the Atlantic Ocean. Sometimes it's a flood. Sometimes it's a beautiful little brook, but it flows. It is not still, it is not conservative. I mean, what we want to do is we want to perpetuate. That's not the same as conserve. When you conserve something, it doesn't move anymore. It's like under ice. Sometimes you do need to conserve certain things as they are. That's perhaps part of it. But the most important thing is perpetuating it. That's the way it stays alive. Letting it breathe, letting it flow, letting it move forward. Keeping it going, keeping alive the most essential things to us, the most essential teachings, the most essential practices, and doing so in a way which respects the time and the place in which we are. That's why We wish to be contemporary, not modern. Modern understandings of the present and the future and the past, they want to organize, analyze, exploit, classify, extract, right? And of course, these are activities which are not only belonging to the modern period or to the modern framework, but it's the emphasis, right? Breaking with the past. The traditional view flows, surfs, adapts, understands, surrenders to the moment, meets the challenges of the age, but in connection with the transcendent, rooted in the past, with an idea of the future, of many future generations. Because modernism often speaks about like being progressive and, you know, being future oriented, but actually in actual practice, what we've seen about modernism is that it actually doesn't think many generations ahead. It's willing to destroy now and leave later generations to figure it out when it comes to all sorts of things, debt, the environment, right? No. We need to go beyond these ideas, modernity being progressive and being forward-looking and being respectful of the present and celebrating the present, whereas tradition is romantic and nostalgic and incapable of movement. No. That's conservatism. Tradition flows. If you're enjoying my explorations of beauty and excellence in Islamic contexts, please feel free to share the love by liking, commenting, sharing your thoughts, subscribing, and of course, offering a prayer.